Yep.
Awesome. Well, Patrick, Anna, thanks so much for joining. Let's get started here. We're running a Visto live to talk about the CELPIP exam. We have a fair amount of information on the Visto website about IELTS, primarily because it's an exam that I wrote. And so I love that we were able to meet in person a few weeks ago because Anna and Patrick work for Paragon Testing, who administer the CELPIP exam. So they're going to be here to talk all about the exam, what we need to know about it, the benefits, the details, all of that great stuff. So they're going to talk for a little bit about it. If anybody has any questions, we're going to also stick around for a live Q&A after the fact. So what you can do is you can definitely post your questions during the presentation while they're top of mind. And then what I will do is go back and I will relay those questions to Anna and to Patrick because we don't want to do too much disrupting. And then any other questions at the end, whether it's about CELPIP, immigration, all that good stuff, we'll stick around for that as well. So Anna, Patrick, I'll send it over to you. If either or both of you want to do a quick intro of who you are, that would be awesome. And then we'll get right into the good stuff on the CELPIP exam.
Okay, well, I'll start first because I know
Sounds
Patrick
good.
is going to take over the CELPIP presentation. So
Yeah.
just so that everybody knows who I am, my name is Anna Baxter. I used to be an ESL teacher, so that's basically my main background. But then I was working at an IELTS test center before, and now I'm working here at Paragon. So we offer two tests. We're going to be mainly talking about CELPIP today, but I also cover the CALE test, which is also a Canadian English language proficiency test that is used for university and college purposes. So if anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to ask me. And I've taught both classes before as well, so that will be very helpful if you have additional questions or comparisons about any other test as well. All right, so Patrick,
Awesome.
take
All
it
right.
away.
Yeah, so my name is Patrick Macro, and I've been with Paragon for a couple of years now. I started in customer service, so I've just been building my knowledge about the products that we offer, the testing, the different tests that Anna touched on. So yeah, my background has been in social work, working with newcomers in nonprofit settlement services sectors. So I have a diverse experience in that particular sector. So it's helped me with this role. So yeah, but we're very happy to be here. So thanks for everybody
That's
that
right.
took the time to attend, and we hope you enjoy it and find it valuable for just giving you details about the CELPIP test.
Awesome.
All
Patrick,
right.
I guess you can't see my slides then. Can you, if you want,
Uh,
you can open up the Visto page and
okay.
or just tell me when you're switching slides and I
Hmm.
can switch slides as well. I'm on the agenda slide right
Sure.
now.
Do you want to do it the ladder? Like, would you? Can you bring up the slides on your end?
Oh, I have them up. Yeah, they're in
Oh,
front of
okay.
me. They're live on screen for the audience,
Oh, I
but I
see.
realized that what you
We can't see them.
yeah, you can't see
Yeah.
what slide I'm on, but you can
Okay.
also, if you want, go on the Visto Facebook page. You can watch the live, but that might affect your internet. Um,
I can go to the slides that I sent to you, and then does
yeah,
that work?
open those up and we're
Okay.
on the agenda page.
Sure. All right. Just give me one moment here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is it here. Yeah. Just loading up right now.
No problem.
All right.
And as he's talking, I'm sure you're going to see what slides he's referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're seeing the CELPIP Get the Facts. So that's the name of the presentation that we're going to be delivering today.
Yeah, right now I'm on agenda. So
Agenda?
we're on the
Okay,
second slide, yeah.
perfect. All right, so this is in general what we're going to be covering today. It'll be brief today. It'll allow for you guys to have your questions, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we can. Um, but yeah, we're just going to cover some basic topics about the CELPIP test, so you can consider your options for for your immigration if you have to take it for citizenship. Yeah, so we'll go to the next screen now. So I get into the basics of CELPIP, And we'll skip over to the next screen. So this is what CELPIP stands for. So it's a long one. That's why we call it CELPIP. It's Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. So we call it CELPIP. It's like sell, like to sell something, and then PIP. It's not really a word, but CELPIP. So go to the next. Yeah, it's a bad analogy.
To help you remember.
Oh yeah. There you go. So we'll go to the next screen now. So, excuse me. So these are some of the main features and characteristics of the test. So it does assess your 4 English categories, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So like most common proficiency tests like IELTS and TOEFL, it does cover those 4 categories. The language in the test is daily, everyday English. So it's not an academic test. It focuses on daily, everyday English that you would use for your new life in Canada. Another feature of the test, it was created originally by University of British Columbia, so it is a Canadian developed test. We currently still work with UBC. We are a subsidiary at Paragon, but yeah, it was developed by University of British Columbia. And now Paragon, which is where Anna and I work, fully own and operate and run the CELPIP test. So the test is the only Canadian English test that is recognized by the federal government of Canada to prove your level of English when you're applying for permanent residency, so immigrating to Canada, or applying for Canadian citizenship to get your Canadian passport. So it is an accepted test that is recognized by the government and is fully Canadian. So go to the next screen. So those are the 2 main testing options that we have for CELPIP. So the top one is the most commonly taken CELPIP test. That covers all 4 sections. So listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So this is the test you need to take if you're applying for immigration to Canada, so permanent residency, when you first land here and you get your landed immigrant status. The total test takes about 3 hours. You are able to click through the test at your own pace and finish at your own pace. So you could end up finishing the test earlier than 3 hours. But one of the key features of this test is that you're done all 4 sections, including speaking, within the 3-hour period that you're sitting down at a computer.
That's pretty cool, because having to wait around for that for the IELTS was a bit of a pain.
Exactly. There you go. You get it from personal experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the bottom test is the one that we have designated for newcomers applying for Canadian citizenship. So if you need to take an English test for citizenship, then you would want to take the cheaper option. The reason why it's cheaper, is because you only have to prove your listening and speaking skills, not your reading and writing when you're applying for citizenship. So we have a test that only tests you in listening and speaking. So it's called CELPIP General LS, L for listening, S for speaking. So that's a more convenient, shorter and less expensive option if you need to take an English test for citizenship. So it's only about an hour long, and you're basically in and out. So it's pretty quick, and you get your scores in a couple days after.
Awesome.
Okay, go to the next screen. Just to give you guys a general idea, this is what the CELPIP website looks like. We've recently updated it, so it's a lot more user-friendly. It's easier to find stuff. For example, to create a free CELPIP account, which you'll have to do before you register for a test. So it's a free account that you can sign in and out of. You can easily find a test date. You can search by country, region, province, city, date. So you have a lot of options. So it's very easy to navigate our website to get what you need from it, including preparation materials. Okay, go to the next screen. So why take CELPIP versus other leading tests like a IELTS or TOEFL, if you guys are familiar? So we do operate in many different countries in the world, so you don't have to come to Canada physically to take it. You can take it in one of these countries that are represented here on the map. So you could take it basically from home while you're applying to immigrate to Canada. So we're trying to expand internationally, as rapidly as we can, so that we can, be a convenient option for test takers all around the world. Okay, it's just another look at the website. This is just showing how you would search to find an available test date. So the available test dates that you can choose from are highlighted there in green. It says available. So that just lets you know that you can register for that specific test at that time and date and that test set. Okay, go to the next screen. This is just a general idea of what the test room looks like. So everybody's going to be seated at a computer station. They're going to have their own headset that they can, adjust the volume to your own preference. You're going to have your own speaker, keyboard, mouse, obviously, and so it's a very individualized experience. So you take the test, according to your own preferences. Let's go to the next screen there. So regarding the results, you now get your results in 4 to 5 calendar days. So that means regular days after you've completed your tests. So the results first are posted online in the free CELPIP account that you create on our website when you register for the test. So it is an account that you can sign in and out of with a username and password. So you're going to create a free account. And that's the first place that the scores are going to be posted is online in that free CELPIP account. So once they've been posted online, then we're going to start mailing them out to whichever address you have specified when you register. So just keep in mind, it is the physical copy that you will need for government applications such as immigration or citizenship in Canada. But the online results are helpful because they just show you how well you did while you're waiting for the physical score report to come in the mail. Okay. Go to the next slide. This is basically the band descriptor. So this is the scoring system for the CELPIP English test. So I don't know if many of you are familiar with the scoring on the right, which is the CLB level. That stands for Canadian Language Benchmark. So that's the scoring system that the government of Canada uses when they're evaluating somebody's listening skills or reading skills. So you're going to be between a level 0 and a 12. So for CELPIP scoring, we made our scoring the same as what the government of Canada uses. That way, if you're applying for immigration and you're looking at the government requirements, for example, if the government says, and this is just for example, you need a level 7 in reading, then that means you need a CELPIP level 7. So it's very easy to understand what the requirement is for your application. So the scoring is equivalent to the CLB levels. So a CLB level 12 is a CELPIP level 12, and so on and so forth.
Makes a lot of sense. Half the battle with figuring out scores for IELTS is just finding the equivalents in the CLB. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, easy peasy. All right, so we'll go to the next slide. Excuse me. So these are just some main features and characteristics of the test itself. Excuse me. So yeah, everything is completed within 1 3-hour time frame maximum. So as Josh mentioned, you won't have to wait around later that evening or the following day to have your speaking interview, because all 4 sections that you will be tested in you'll be completing at the same time within 3 hours. So once you've completed your 3-hour test, you're done. All you have to do is, go home, keep your mind occupied so you're not stressing out, and just wait for the results. And, fingers crossed that you get the score you need. For the reading section, a good thing about it is that you get the reading passages as well as the questions at the same time. So you don't have to remember what you read and then go to the questions. Everything's going to be there. You'll have access to it at the same time. So if you want to read a passage again, just to get more familiar, you're going to have the questions and the reading at the same time. For the speaking section, it's not an actual live speaking interview with another person. Your responses that you provide into the computer headset will be recorded and marked at a later date. So at a later date, actual speaking evaluators are going to listen to the recording that you gave during your test. So you won't have a live speaking interview. One of the benefits of that is that there are certain anxieties that come with, having to perform in front of somebody else and show them your speaking ability. So you won't have to worry about that. You're not going to have somebody that's, keeping tabs on your eye contact and body language. That'll be one less thing to worry about. For the writing section, this is one of the best features of CELPIP. It functions very similar to a Word document. So in the real test, you're going to have spell check integrated into the real test. So what that means is that if you misspell a word or misuse a word, the software will let you know. It'll underline it. And then you'll have the opportunity to right click on it, just as you do in Microsoft Word, and it'll give you suggestions of possible correct spellings for that word. So it's kind of an assistant when you're doing the real test. So many people find that valuable. And it has, cut, copy, paste. If you want to move things around before you submit your writing response, you have access to all those convenient options. Going into the listening, you have your own headset. Everybody has their own, so you can adjust the volume to your own preference. You don't have to get everybody to agree on one volume level for, doing the listening section. And it's always going to tell you how much time you have for each section for the whole test. So you never have to worry, am I running out of time? How much time do I have left to talk? Everything is going to be right there, excuse me, right in front of you as you take the test. So it's convenient and it'll ease your mind a little bit. Okay, go to the next slide. I'm just going to cover briefly test information, including the format. So these are the two different tests that we have. The main one, the CELPIP General. This is the order that you'll be taking the components. So first listening, then reading, then writing, and then speaking. And that's roughly the time breakdown for each section. So except for speaking, every component is just under an hour long. And then for the CELPIP General LS test for citizenship, you only do two components, and that's listening first and then speaking at the end. So speaking will always be at the end. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Just some common things to note about the listening section. So you will get one chance to hear the audio clip, so the conversation, only one chance. So just keep that in mind as you're going into this section. You only get one chance to hear the clip, and then you'll be brought to the questions. So we do hand out note paper during the test. Make use of your note paper when you're doing the listening section, because you will have to recall details about the clip, the overall theme of the clip, stuff like that. Yeah, so manage your time. The questions do typically get harder as you go along, so just keep that in mind. And we'll go to the next slide. Okay, this is just giving you a good idea of how the test will look when you're doing the listening section. So it is multiple choice. So just try to eliminate the answers right off the bat that are not the right answers. It'll help you narrow down your search to finding the correct answer. And as you can see, it shows you how much time is remaining, and it shows you when the clip will be done playing. So go to the next slide there. This is just an example of a possible listening question you might get. So in this case, a woman is asking a bus driver directions on where the children's playground is. So this is just an example of a listening question you would get. So once again, the topics are very general, everyday life situations that people in all over the world would likely encounter and experience. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Sometimes in the listening section, it will be accompanied by a video, so you'll be actually watching a video and listening. In this case, just kind of keep in mind of the basic clues. If it says that Tom is the man wearing the red shirt, then just make sure that you remember that. Are the people in the clip, are they dressed formally? Are they dressed casually? What's the setting in the clip? Are they in an office? Are they in a school? So just things to keep in mind when you're doing this type of listening question. So we'll go to the next slide. You will have note paper that you'll be given right at the beginning of the test, so just make good use of that. I'm sure all of you know how to take good notes, quick things that you'll remember. Don't spend a lot of time writing things down, like in a paragraph format. Yeah, I'm sure you guys will be fine. Go to the next slide. So in the listening section, these are just general things that you'll have to identify. These are headings that you'll be questioned on. So you'll have to find, for example, the general meaning of what the clip was telling you, specific information in the clip. So maybe you have to remember an important date, or what is the inference? What is the author's purpose, or what is the author trying to tell you about the overall clip? So that's stuff that you'll be questioned on in the listening section. Go to the next slide. Excuse me. These are just some basic tips on the listening strategies. So I believe you will have access to these slides if you wanted to, go back and just check out the clips. The tips there. But
yeah, we can make the deck available so we can.
There you go.
To respect everyone's time, we can go through these. Yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah, just some main things to note. Don't just try to absorb as much information in each conversation as you can. Don't worry if you maybe miss something at the beginning. Just try to absorb as much information about the listening question that you receive. Answer every question, so don't leave anything blank in CELPIP. It's better to just choose something. If you run out of time or you just don't know what the answer is, just click something. It'll give you a better chance at receiving a higher score. So just some key things to note there. Go to the next slide. Reading, as I said, so you get the reading and the questions at the same time. So it's very user friendly and easy. So you can, if you wanted to go back and check something in the reading, you will have the opportunity to do that because you're going to have the reading and the questions on the same screen. Reading is also multiple choice. So just, as a tip, eliminate the answers that right off the bat are probably not the right one, and that will help you narrow down to finding the correct answer. Okay, go to the next screen. This is just giving you an idea of how the reading section looks. So you have the reading there on the left, and you have the questions on the right. So it is like a drop down. You click the down arrow, and then it'll bring the 4 answer choices down, and then you select the right one. Just keep in mind when you're doing CELPIP, if you can see that blue next button in the top right corner, once you've clicked next, you've submitted your answers up until that point. So just make sure before you click next in any section, there's always going to be a next button, that you're happy with what you've submitted in terms of answers. Okay? And you got the countdown timer there, so you know how much time is left, and we will go to the next slide. Okay. Just get into the habit of, skimming the reading passages to find keywords. Maybe the question is about hockey. So if you see, for example, Toronto Maple Leafs is written somewhere in the reading, then maybe that's a good place where the answer might be for the hockey question, just to give you an example. So just get in the habit of using some reading strategies like skimming and scanning for keywords. Once again, answer all of the questions, and it's best if you read some of the questions ahead of time before you read the passage. That way you kind of have an idea of what you're supposed to be looking for in the reading. Okay, go to the next slide. Just like the listening section, you might be asked to look for the general meaning of the reading, specific information in the reading, or what is the argument or what is the author trying to tell you in his written passage. Okay, go to the next slide. This is just showing that it's valuable to look for keywords when you're trying to answer questions. So, for example, one of the answers is lists Japan, and in the reading it mentions Tokyo. So that's a keyword that will help you look for where the answer is for question number 2. Okay, go to the next slide. These are just some general reading tips. So get into the habit of skimming and scanning. Let's see here. Eliminate incorrect answers. Just always monitor your time. It's going to tell you right in front of you, and answer every question. Don't leave any blank. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Now I'll get into the writing section. So the writing is very similar to a Microsoft Word document that you might have to type for work or at home. And we'll go into the, so it does have spell check, as I mentioned before. You're going to have to frame your answers within a word count range. So for example, it could be you have to give an answer between 150 and 200 words. So the the software is going to tell you, well, you've already typed 80 words. And every time you type a word, it's going to add to that. So you don't have to count how many words your response is so far. It's going to tell you automatically. So it makes it easy to know that you're within the requirement that's being asked of you. Okay. As I said too, it has cut, copy, and paste when you're giving your written response. And we'll have the countdown timer right there. This is just in general what the writing section looks like. So the first task is writing an email. So you just have to, I'm sure many of you know how to format a basic email, like Dear Hiring Manager, and then you have the body of the email, and then you have the salutation at the end, like best regards, sincerely. So you have to frame it as an email. And once again, the topics are general everyday situations that one would encounter. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay, it's just showing you where the writing area is, and the scenario is on the left, and the instructions are right above the writing area there. We'll go to the next slide. And that's just showing you that it where it tallies the amount of words that you've typed. So it says in this case, this individual has typed 10 words already. So it's very easy to understand if you're within that range of 150 to 200 words. Okay, and we'll go to the next slide. Another thing to note is you have to interpret based on the scenario or question. Should I be using formal English or informal English or semi-formal? For example, if it's asking you to write to government, then you might want to use very formal English. If it's asking you to pretend you're writing to a friend, then you might want to be less formal or semi-formal. So you will be graded on how you interpret what type of English to use, formal or informal or semi. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. These are just the main categories that our raters, our evaluators look at when they are evaluating somebody's writing responses. So those are the four main categories. So, making sure that your ideas are organized, well developed. You're using a wide range of vocabulary, so you're not using the same word over and over again in the same situation. How easy is it to read and understand your response? And are you fulfilling what the question is asking you? Are you keeping your response within that word count range? Are you addressing the question? You're not going off topic, stuff like that. The most important thing about this slide is that at the bottom it says at least 4 different raters or evaluators will assess each test taker's writing test. So what that means is that, for example, just giving an example, if you get a level 8 in CELPIP for writing, what that means is that at least 4 different people separately gave you a score, and an average was taken of what all of those 4 different raters scored you, and that's how you arrived at receiving a level 8. So it just increases the accuracy of the score you're given, and it kind of assures you that it was multiple people that separately rated you, and that's how you were given the score that you received. Okay, so go to the next slide. Just quickly go into speaking. So there's different types of speaking questions you will be given. Every question gives you time for preparation to either write down or mentally think about what you want to say. And we'll go into the next slide here. So one of the questions, talk about one of your best friends. So once again, pretty basic. I'm sure you'll have something to say, hopefully good stuff about one of your best friends. And as you can see, it gives you preparation time there just to kind of collect your thoughts and think about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. So we'll go to the next slide. You will have a recording little microphone icon there. Just make sure that it's going up and down kind of in the middle or at the top. That just means that your voice is recording at a moderate to higher level, because you want to be very audible and clear. You want your voice to be loud so that we can, just hear what you're saying with a lot of clarity. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. And we will be making sure that everybody's equipment is, operating grade and at a good volume level before you start the test. So you won't have to worry. All this will be sorted out at the beginning. This is just another sample question. Talk about a personal experience. So you'll be asked to talk about a personal experience. Talk about a great time you had with a family member or friend. What happened and why was it memorable? So once again, there's no right or wrong answer. Just give a full-bodied response. So if you're given 60 seconds to give an answer, make sure you use the full amount of time. Don't give a 10-second response. I went to Cuba and it was fun. Like, why was it fun? What made it so memorable? So just keep that in mind and just stay on topic. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. You'll also be asked to describe a picture. So it'll be a basic picture. You have to pretend in this case that the person you're describing the picture to can't see it. So be very descriptive, and I would start with a general overview of what you're looking at. So I'm looking at a classroom full of students. The teacher is out of the room, so the students are kind of misbehaving. And then once you've given the overview, you can start going into details about each individual student. Okay? All right, go to the next slide there. You'll also be asked to compare between two options and, for example, pretend you're persuading a family member to either buy a condo downtown or a home in the countryside. So there's going to be two options. It might be two different phones, two different homes, two different cars, but the content will always be things that people are familiar with. So that's one of the best things about CELPIP. And once again, in these kind of questions, there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to pick a side and support it with ideas, examples, and then you'll be on your way to success. We'll go to the next slide. Just like the writing section, the raters will be looking at these four main categories. So just make sure you're paying attention to this, and you can always access this after the presentation today. Excuse me. So like the writing section, at least 3 different raters will separately rate your speaking responses, and then an average will be taken, and that will be your overall speaking level. So we try to make it as accurate as possible. That way you feel satisfied with the grade you receive based on your performance. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Just going to quickly cover some test preparation materials. So we have a lot of free YouTube videos. So the link to the videos are on our website. We have a little YouTube button at the bottom. So you can click that, and then it goes right into our YouTube channel, and it has many videos. If you're thinking of getting a good writing score, we have writing videos. We have speaking videos. We have different tips. So just take advantage of the free, underline free YouTube videos that we have. And
yes, there's quite a lot of resources available. So it's not just YouTube videos, but also webinars as well. And we currently are offering additional resources for free due to all the circumstances that we're going through right now. And I'll give that information to Josh so he can just post it as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna post a link to the website in the comments right now, just so that anybody watching live can at least click on that, have it up in their browser for whenever they prefer. Do you want the paragontesting.ca? Does that work best?
Well, the paragontesting.ca, it would be best the CELPIP.ca.
Got it.
That information, that's where you can get all the good tidbits and strategies and all ways to help you practice and study.
Awesome.
We do also have a list. I know I've given it to you already, Josh, but it just depends on how much information we want to share. But if they have questions, we could always give that to anyone. It's for pub. So.
Okay, great.
All right. So I'll go over to the next slide now. Take the main thing I would say, if you're thinking of taking the CELPIP test and you have no idea how is it going to look and you're maybe a bit anxious, try the free sample test that we have on our website. It's totally free. These sample tests that we have, they're the exact same format as the real test. So if you wanted to just get an idea, just try it. It's free, and then you'll know what to expect. and that'll help you in making your decision on if this is the right choice for you for English testing. So take advantage of the free things that we have: webinars, videos, practice tests, and that'll give you a good idea.
Right. And just by opening an account without registering for a test, you will get 2 free mock tests. So one is a sample test and the other one's a practice test. So it's quite beneficial to use these for your practice.
Definitely. So go to the next slide there. These are just some of the paid. So once you've exhausted our free products and maybe you want a little bit more in-depth practice, we do have other practice tests that you can buy as well. If you want new questions to face, we also have CELPIP Accelerate, which is one of our best sellers. It just gives you a lot of different study products and resources in one. So it has videos you can watch, study notes, it has a practice test. So a lot of different things in one if you wanted like a lot of different options.
Also has sample responses too.
Yes.
So if you want to at least know what it is to get an 8 or what it is to get a 7, they will give you sample responses for that, so you can see the difference as well. Yeah. And also for a limited time until April 15th, we do offer this for free. Yeah. So I would recommend you get that.
Take advantage of it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So move on to the next slide there. These are just a look at some of our hard copy books. So books that, physically, just like the old fashioned way. So if you prefer an actual physical book to practice and study, then we have those options as well. These are also available as ebooks online. A lot of people now are reading books in an online format on their phones. So you do have the option for that as well. So go to the next slide there. These are some of our best hard copy books. Focus. This is good if you're trying to, it's a little bit more advanced than some of our general study guides. So it'll just give you an idea of how to attain a higher score in these categories and components. And they're kind of like skill workbooks. You work through them and they have different exercises that are involved in the books. So this is a really good product. Go to the next slide there. Study guides are a little bit more general. They're good for test takers of all language proficiencies. They just give you a really good general overview of all the 4 components and the breakdown and types of questions. So this would be good as a starter for anybody that wants a good starting guide on all the 4 different components: listening, speaking, reading, writing, in CELPIP. So just go to the next slide there. All right. Do you want me to, Anna? Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to?
Or which one? The books?
I'm on the Kale.
Oh, okay.
Kale slide now.
I can't see the slide. Well, for anybody who has any questions, I mean, today we were obviously talking about CELPIP, but for Kale, if anybody is interested in going to universities or colleges, or even for immigrant consultant programs, there is a requirement, an English language proficiency requirement. So the type of test you would be doing would be an academic English test. So that's the Kale test, and it's also a Canadian test. And you could do this test in one sitting as well. So if that's something you would like to consider, just let us know, or you can write to Josh. He'll let me know, and I'll make sure to give you all the information. But we definitely have a lot of resources as well for free. So, or maybe another day we can do another webinar for this, and then we'll have a chat.
Yep. For sure.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we'll go to the, another really important thing to note, excuse me. So we have an in-person practice test that you can take. So it's called the Kale pretest. So Kale is very similar to CELPIP, so it's still good practice for CELPIP. It's just a little bit more academic. But basically, when you come in person and you take the Kale pretest, in a real test environment, so it'd be the same environment you would encounter in a real CELPIP test. If you come in person, you take the pretest. Once you're done, regardless of which score you get $50 off the CELPIP or Kale test. So then you can go and register for the real CELPIP test, and smack $50. You take $50 off the price of the CELPIP or CALE test. So you come in person, it's free, and it's
So
a
it ends
win-win.
up being 230 plus tax.
Yeah, exactly. So totally free, and also you get the real testing feel, so you understand how it's going to be. So good practice, and you get the discount as well. So that's the website right there. If you're interested in exploring that option, and we're also available to answer more detailed questions about that too. So go to the next slide. I believe that's it. That's our contact information, including the website. So if you want to email or call us, we're going to have a question and answer period right now, but also Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Follow us, keep up to date on the information if you're interested in, taking CELPIP for your immigration or citizenship in Canada.
Yep, and if for whatever reason you can't track any of this down, feel free to reach out to us directly at Visto also, and we will either forward you to Anna or Patrick directly, or provide these links, provide the deck, any of that good stuff as well.
Yep. All right, so that covers it. So we'll go into the question and answer period now.
Awesome.
I'll let you take the lead on that, Josh.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much to you both, Patrick, Anna. Number one, for lending your time on a Wednesday night. Really appreciate it, and for shedding light on something that I didn't know much about either. So it's really good to know, even just when trying to advise Visto users or other clients on what the options are. So I'm really glad to know about this one that's available now.